The second half of this month's Neepawa Town Council meeting is dominated by a presentation from EDO Marilyn Crew regarding the results of the Business Retention and Expansion Survey conducted in the community this past June. You may remember we sat down with EDO Crew in May to discuss how the survey was going to roll out to local businesses and how the survey results, regardless of what they showed, would benefit the town. Fortunately for everyone, the results were very positive across almost every metric that they measured, right down to the response rate, which was over 4 times higher than the industry average. While what we see here at the council meeting is the collective data from all of the responses they received, which were enough to be a representative sample with a very high level of accuracy, EDO Crew has access to the individual responses, which allows her to respond to companies in her capacity as Economic Development Officer and address any needs they might have expressed. The results go over a lot of really positive statistics, but the takeaway in the end is that the health of Neepawa's business sector is well over the national average, and that overall the business sector is highly content with a 94% satisfaction rate. Now, that is not to say that Neepawa has no problems to address, but the survey did confirm that the future plans of the town are aligning with the needs of the business community. The 5 main areas that had the lowest satisfaction numbers were availability of housing, availability of childcare, post-secondary educational opportunities that match market needs, healthcare medical services, and commercial property available for purchase or lease. All of these items were already on Council's radar, most with projects already in the works.
So in the month, the end of the month of May into June, Deloitte did a business retention and expansion survey to Neepawa businesses, and this is the final report with results from that study. So to start, the objectives of this project were to engage the businesses to find out where there was retention and expansion opportunities, to gauge business attitudes and perceptions around operating a business in town, and to understand how best to support local businesses in the town of Neepawa. So Deloitte did this through a random sampling using telephone and email. 79 businesses responded. They considered this a 20% survey response rate, which is very high in market research industry. This scientific approach then ensures that the results are highly accurate. They're saying 95% confidence level and statistically represents the business community in Neepawa. I will say too that part of the survey included, the survey results included me receiving all of the raw data. So every answer that every business made, I have it all in an Excel spreadsheet. However, businesses had the option to not have their name attached to their answers. So there are some businesses that responded to the survey but didn't let their name be identified. So first of all, the firmographics, they call them. So in general, who were the businesses that were surveyed? 71%, oh wait, went too far. Nope, my page is wrong. 81% of the businesses were locally owned and operated. 19% were externally owned and operated. 97% were location-based, 3% were home-based. And of those home-based businesses, all of them were registered with the province. As far as number of employees, the majority of businesses in Neepawa have between 2 and 20 full-time and part-time employees. So as far as property ownership goes, 71% own their own property, 25% rent. So from that then, those that rent, they asked how long their lease terms were. Majority have 1-year terms of lease for their current commercial property. Then they also asked when their lease expired. So there were 10% who responded that they had less than a year left on their lease, which then I know that information, so I can contact those businesses to see if they need help in finding a new space or if they're just gonna renew where they're at. So, and then business performance. So the first set of questions was, over the past 12 months, did the total number of employees in your company decrease, remain the same, or increase? So 65% of our businesses maintained status quo in their employees, and 27% increased their number of employees, which is a really stable situation, but also the fact that when they were asked what they expected in the next 12 months, those numbers stayed very close to the same. So that means stable employment numbers in our businesses. They were asked the same type of question for revenue. So over the past 12 months, did your revenue decrease, remain the same, or increase? And the majority, 49%, said that their revenue remained stable. Then they asked what they expected for a change in revenue in the next 12 months. And this was really great. 54% of our businesses expected their revenue to increase in the next 12 months, which is a very positive thing. So then Deloitte takes those numbers, the more negative, the same, more positive from these sets of questions, and Neepawa came out at a net positive 29%. So there is more people with more positive, so the 37%, than in the more negative, which was only 8%, which nets out to 29% net positive in their business performance in Neepawa. So Deloitte takes this information and creates what they call a business performance metric. They take all of that data and trends, and so it shows an overall directional picture of the business climate in Neepawa. We would like to see a community to be at least have a stable business climate, and Neepawa is positive 5.4, which shows an overall increasing trend in business performance. Then Deloitte also does what they call a net promoter score. So what this is asking the businesses is the level to which they agree or disagree with this following statement. I would recommend this town to another business looking to expand or relocate. And Neepawa businesses responded 42% somewhat agree, 52% strongly agree, creating a 94% positive response to this question. What this means is those that strongly agree, Deloitte considers those promoters. So those are people who will actively promote Neepawa as a place to do business. And 42% they call passive, but still they are neutral, they're not saying negative things. And the detractors in Neepawa is 6%, so businesses with a negative opinion. So once again, they take this information and they put it into a scale that says that the net promoter score for Neepawa is 46%. So this is a very positive response for this series of questions. So then we delve a little deeper. Deloitte asked very specific areas of satisfaction for various factors that businesses have to various ways that businesses interact with the town. So we take that overall satisfaction, but then we break it down by specific tasks. So are you happy with the internet? Are you happy? Do you see business-friendly policies and regulations from the town? These had our most positive responses. And not far behind that, opportunity to expand to new markets. There's real positive opportunities for that in Neepawa. And the businesses are also happy with the marketing efforts to promote the town. Also, still sitting at 80% is the quality of local products and services to meet business supply needs and the ability to source products and services for your business. The development and building permit process got very positive response as well at 78%. And then down from there, I mean, we're at 73% now, availability of unskilled labor and ability to retain employees in the area. So these are quite positive numbers when you look at the breadth of topics that are covered by these different factors. So then Deloitte takes that and creates a priority matrix. So based on those specific responses, they prioritize them using what is the level of importance overall to our community, how the businesses responded, and they also set it all into a priority, which gives them a priority ranking. So I'm happy to report that the top 5 things are the top 5 things that council has seen as priorities as well, which is really great to see. So the number 1 priority ranked adequate housing, number 2, childcare for staff, number 3, availability of post-secondary programming that aligns with business needs, number 5, availability of health and medical services, number 4, number 5, availability of property for purchase or lease. So this affirms the work that Neepawa has been doing and also shows that these are the things that with continued effort will actually increase our satisfaction levels for business in town. Then they give us a community health index. So they take the answers from this business survey and they have what they call a proprietary business community health index. And based on the answers, they create this chart. So each of the lines on this chart is an individual business that responded to the survey. And they track all of that. They say that the national 5-year average business health score is 757, and Neepawa scored 792. So what this means is that we have outperformed the provincial average with regards to businesses' changes in attitudes, community recommendation, and on factors related to business supports, policies, and incentives. We did not score lower than the national average, on any subscore of this health index, but scored similar to average on workforce attraction, retention, and historical changes in revenues. So I did ask them, they said that they've only ever had one community score over 800 on this, and so I think that Neepawa is well placed based on this index that they've created. Future plans. Businesses were then asked, within the next 24 months, do you plan on expanding, implementing a succession plan, downsizing, selling, closing, or relocating? So 17 businesses said that they have expansion plans. 6 of those are within the next 6 months. That's a very positive response to the health of our businesses. We have 6 businesses that are looking at implementing a succession plan, 1 downsizing, 1 selling, and I'm happy to report we have no closing and no relocating businesses in Neepawa. And I will say, as part of that raw data that I have access to, I know which of these businesses are the ones that are expanding and implementing succession plan. It just gives me the opportunity to reach out to them and see if there's anything I can do from my office to make that successful. Triage flags. So throughout the survey process, triage cases that represented red or green flags were tracked. Out of the 79 businesses surveyed, 27 businesses presented an opportunity for intervention by economic development. So the green flags, respondents were considering expanding their businesses within the next 24 months. So there's 17 businesses that I have opportunity to have that direct conversation with. Red flags were also marked in the raw data that I received. So anyone who is considering relocating, downsizing, or a business whose lease expires in less than a year, I have that information so that I can support them. Communication. So they did a question around business community contact. The question says, I know who to reach out to at the town if I'm looking for support growing my business or navigating other business concerns. 49% strongly agreed and 36% somewhat agreed with this statement. Deloitte, so that's a total of 84%. Deloitte said their average communities, typically that number is between 50 and 60% of the people know who to reach out to. So that's good news. And I also know, so the 3% that strongly disagree and 13% that somewhat disagree, I have those businesses, I've already reached out to them and introduced myself. So the conclusions for this report. So business community satisfaction, the businesses operating within Neepawa are highly content with this area as a place to conduct their operations with a 94% satisfaction rate. High scores in these metrics have a strong impact on the overall satisfaction scores of the local business community and are excellent indicators of a healthy community economy. Top priorities that came out of this report: availability of adequate housing, availability of childcare, and availability of post-secondary programming. Overall business community recommendations. So what the businesses are telling us is that as we work on those top items in the priority matrix, and we will see where improvements can be made, it will improve overall satisfaction looking forward. And at the individual business level, I will be continuing to do follow-up on the red and green triage flags, the higher-low business community health index scores, and obviously businesses who are unsure of who to reach out to with concerns in Neepawa.
Okay, thanks, Marilyn. That was, and thanks for getting involved in doing that study. That's very informative. And there again, like just the fact that you're reaching out to businesses and that, it's a great job.
Thank you. Yeah, my plan would be that this is not a one-off thing. We can't necessarily afford to hire Deloitte, get a grant to do this work. But there are other ways that we can meet with businesses, do a walkabout maybe next spring to see, ask similar questions and just continue to keep an eye on our businesses.
All right, very good.
Manager of Operations Denise Kay reports on the results of the invitational tender for the next road project near the new hospital. That's currently known as Road 2 and runs north-south off the Hamilton Street extension to the new hospital area, and it's for completion only to the gravel road stage, as paving will not take place until 2026 or 2027. 4 of the 5 companies contacted submitted tenders, and low bid was recommended to and passed by council.
Denis, road work?
Yeah, so this is a portion of road that we refer to as Road 2 within the periphery of the hospital. So this is a north-south portion, departing north from Hamilton Street. A couple weeks ago I did an invitational tender request. Went out to 5 separate local parties, 4 of whom decided to bid on the project, and Colleen has the summary of the numbers right there for you. So this is only to a gravel road stage, so it'd be the excavation and then replacement of all the aggregates and layering up as SPC's our consultant plan. No boulevard, no grading on the boulevard itself. We found with the later product right now that we are actually finding great places to waste all the material because of the ups and the downs and the highs and lows we've created for the drainage. So we've been saving on hauling. So I think we'll have the same consequence with this next portion on Road 2. So it'll be set to a gravel stage, and then as work progresses, possibly in 26 or 27, we'll consider paving at that point.
So there were 4 bids on this particular project. We're recommending the acceptance of low bid at $78,084 plus tax.
Okay. Any questions? Be it resolved that we accept the tender of Adam Kite Excavation in the amount of $78,084 plus tax to complete the construction of the north-south road on the west periphery of the new hospital, 341415. Moved by Deputy Mayor Parrott, seconded by Councillor Kostenchuk. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Finally, remuneration for both union and non-union employees was discussed, with a new collective agreement that applies to a portion of the municipal staff. Council has previously passed motions that ensure that union and non-union employees are paid at the same rate based on the same criteria. So they use the union negotiations to set rates for all staff for the duration of the contract. According to CAO Sinchishin and Councillor Gerard, the union negotiation went very smoothly and all parties were satisfied with the outcome.
So I won't get into the details there. I don't think the public cares if we change a few words in our collective agreement. But our collective agreement for the unionized employees actually expired December 31st of 2024. If Council will recall, back in 2017, we set the premise for how we remunerated staff across all employees, whether union or not. Our goal was to say that we didn't treat any employee any different here, union or not, and everybody gets measured the same. So a classification of positions was drawn up, a structure for rate pay based on a scale of increments and steps where you gain merit points until you reached your max. And that's what we've worked successfully through for the last 2 4-year periods. So we use the union negotiations to set the premise of how all staff technically get measured, and then I take into account, the non-union staff and what the needs would be and make sure we make market. So for the last 4 periods that expired, we all know that COVID happened. We all know that minimum wage went from $11.90 in 2021, and at present is $15.80 going to $16 by October. So it's roughly $4 change. So as much as we can't give $4 across the board to recognize the change in minimum wage, what we agreed to was a market adjustment that was a $2.08 adjustment in 2024, retro to January 1. And then the ability to gain a year on our contract negotiations and run a 5-year contract now instead of 4. The next 4 years after that will be a 2.25% increase over time. And when you look at what we agreed to, and the HR committee did talk about whether this was reasonable or not, I took into account the market in the municipal world and what each position would be getting paid. We were actually in 2021 sitting at about 2/3 of the way into market on the scale. Some were at the 75th percentile and positioned quite well for a community our size. We since then have grown substantially. The things we do here have started to differ and evolved insofar as responsibility and duties. And when I looked at the market this time, the best information that was available, because the salary survey out of AMM is actually dated 2023, they only do it once every 2 years now, and you extrapolate the fact that you make the assumption everybody got 3% increase over the last few years to set my position for where I looked at market. I found that all of the positions in Neepawa, right from the bottom end up, were actually starting to position lower than what you would expect for a community this size in the province of Manitoba. So when we discussed that, we thought the ask was fair. In return from the union, we got agreement to settle any disparity and we might have had over on-call and standby pay. We got clarification in the agreement on many things, and that data is here for council to read. So bottom line is we went with $2.08 adjustment to bring us. We're not at 75 percentile anymore, but we are positioned still fairly reasonable within the scope of where we should be in the province of Manitoba, and that brought towards our bottom line of people that were, technically should have been slotted for $14.92, and should be now at $15.80. So it's part of our recruitment efforts as well. So they are positioned a little bit better. We always get questions from the pool staff. They also are. I did an analysis of looking at around us, looking at Brandon, different places. As much as we still get complaints, they're not paid appropriately. They are well positioned within relation to other communities. And I think it was a fair shake at the end, so we're looking for you to ratify the agreement. The union did it on July 18th, seemed quite pleased. It was a very efficient and effective union negotiation, and it went quite smoothly, really.
Okay, any questions?
I would just comment that that there was good give and take on behalf of us, the employer, and the union as well. So it is not a one-sided agreement by any means. They definitely came to the table to bargain in good faith, and I really appreciate the union members for working the way they did with us.
Okay, so the resolution reads, be it resolved that upon receipt and validation of all terms negotiated as part of the collective bargaining for period January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2029, the Council of the Town of Neepawa authorizes the Mayor and CAO to sign the agreements with QP Local 1735-01. Be further resolved that pay rates so negotiated shall also apply to all non-unionized employees, taking into consideration any special adjustments to certain positions, classifications, or ranges to ensure a fair and equitable pay structure. Moved by Councillor Gerard, seconded by Councillor Sisley. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Also covered were committee appointments for new Councillor Clark and renewal of leases at the Neepawa Municipal Airport. You can view end-to-end coverage of the council meeting elsewhere in the NATV schedule or on our YouTube channel. Because of the length of this month's meeting, it has been split into 2 parts. If you have any comments or questions about these items or other topics related to the municipal government, please contact us at 204-476-2639 or by email at nacvnews@gmail.com. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you next time.